Hello, hello. Bonjour. Can this one do it? Yeah, what? Hello. Boom, shot to go banana. Everybody. Pong. Ba-da-da. Ba-da-da. Bong, bong. Comment ça va aujourd'hui, mes amis? C'est ça? Je fabuleuse. D'accord. Aujourd'hui, pom, pardon.
So, I thought this would be kind of a special one to stream. It's just been a little while. I wanted to say hi, let you know that I'm still alive and working on some fun stuff. So, yeah. So don't forget, guys. I'm gonna get there's a handful of good questions and some super chats here that I'm gonna get to. Don't forget, guys. The reason I do these streams is to help answer questions for you guys. So if you have questions, you don't have to super chat or anything. Our mods, if they see a good question, they'll pull it and get it in front of me. I can put it up on screen. So if you ask a good question and it's relevant, chances are we might see it and we might pop it up on screen. So keep that in mind as we go through this here today. So first off, we've got Autumn Tesh with a 2 years of membership. That's amazing. Thank you so much for the membership. And don't forget, members and Patreon supporters, I might, depending on if this launch goes tonight or not, I might do a live stream tomorrow afternoon where we continue working on the James Webb Space Telescope in Kerbal Space Program. Hopefully finish and launch it. It should be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for those. For those of you that are members, for those of you that are Patreon supporters, I'll be posting a link depending on how this launch goes. If not, it'll probably be some other time, maybe on Sunday. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Let's see here. Thank you again from Captain Chris. Shout out to Dr. Gus. Let's go. Let's see. It's not that weird that they haven't started the live stream yet because SpaceX tends to do only about T minus 10 minutes or so these days. They do really short live streams. Yeah. So hopefully it still pops up, but we will see. Let's see here. We should also mention today is unfortunately the anniversary of the Challenger accident. That's still, I still think the best way to learn about that is actually there's a really good documentary on Netflix that did a phenomenal job of restoring footage. And in the middle of all that, we do actually, the live stream did start from SpaceX, so that's a good sign. But yeah, I know everyone, knows about the Challenger accident, but it's definitely worth watching something like that just because they did such a good job with it. So if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. But let's just keep that in mind today. This is going to be flying from the same area as Challenger did on this day. So, yeah. All right, let's keep going here. This is a good question from Musical Wolves. Have the engines of the booster been replaced? Now, we don't ever really get to know specific, things like that. Like, they don't tell us, per se, what exact maintenance they do to each and every individual booster. So we don't know what exactly happened, at this point with these engines. They may have been replaced. They may have just been slightly, cleaned out and refurbished, an engine or two. But, that tends to not be what SpaceX wants to do. The quick turnaround times are not replacing engines. They're just literally, cleaning them out and getting them ready for the next flight. So as far as engines being replaced, at this point, I don't know. It's been a while since it flew, so who knows what's all happened. Let's see here. Thank you very much from Alberta 3D. Yes, and as Musical Wolves mentioned too, yes, today is a little, unfortunately, the anniversary of Challenger. So, let's see. This is a good question. Oliver, actually, I probably should have read through my own article a little bit. I don't remember if this was originally supposed to go on Vega. That sounds right. Does anyone remember? I can fast forward through this stream a little bit if you guys think we're behind. I think we're all caught up. I don't remember. I am running the 4K stream, which will delay it a little bit. Let's see if it speeds up if I go to the 1080 stream. Okay. Yeah. If someone in Discord, let me know if it was Vega. I don't remember. Yeah. Okay. This is from Glenn R. Frank. Surprised they can land the booster back at Canaveral with the extra maneuvering it has to do and the retrograde orbit it has to overcome. Yeah, that's because of that light payload mass. Now, don't forget, it was only, like 2,300 kilograms or something. Pretty lightweight. So then, I talked about this a little bit yesterday, so sorry if this is a repeat. But you basically can take the upper stage, start with the upper stage. How much work can the upper stage do? How fast can that upper stage accelerate your payload? If you have a really light payload, obviously that same upper stage can actually do a lot more work. And if you're just going into low Earth orbit, as opposed to, say, geostationary transfer orbit or medium Earth orbit or an interplanetary orbit, or a escape velocity, you really don't need to do as much work to get that payload into its destination. And this is just a relatively low Earth orbit destination, sun synchronous orbit. So you can look at how much work can this do. Let's imagine that the payload has to get up to 28,000 kilometers an hour. Ignore altitude for now. Just only focus on velocity. If this can get it up to, it doesn't have nearly as much work to do. So that means the booster has more propellant left over and more potential left over to actually be able to bring itself back down to land. And that's kind of how this all works. That's how they determine. Of course, it's cheapest, easiest for them to be able to land these things back at land as opposed to using the drone ships too. So um, I've got closed captions on, I guess. So let's tune into this here. I am curious if there's some stuff that we've missed, but I will be around for a while after this. I'll stream for a little bit because it's been a while, and I'll help answer more of you guys' questions. If you guys have more questions about RTLS landings and stuff, let me know.
At Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Good evening and welcome to our launch coverage of Cosmos SkyMed's second generation FM2 for our customer Thales Alenia Space. My name is Jessie Anderson and I'm a production and engineering manager for Falcon here at SpaceX and coming to you today from our SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Our payload today, Cosmos SkyMed, is the first Earth observation constellation of satellites operated for both civilian and military purposes to help monitor the environment, including the prevention and management of natural disasters. It's an Italian satellite constellation owned by the Italian Space Agency and Ministry of Defense. We'll have more on the capabilities of Cosmos SkyMed a bit later in the webcast. Now, for those of you following along, you'll know that we had to stand down from our initial attempt yesterday due to unfavorable weather. Now, unfortunately, today is not looking much better as we are currently in violation of the thick cloud layer rule and are red on the range. But we are hopeful that weather conditions will improve over the next few minutes for liftoff today. For now, let's take a moment and get a little bit more familiar with that Falcon 9 rocket that you see on your screen. Our two-stage liquid-fueled launch vehicle stands 70 meters tall, which is equivalent to the wingspan of a 747 jet. Now, like many of our missions these days, the booster supporting today's flight is flying for the third time, having previously supported 2 Falcon Heavy missions in 2019, and that was STP-2 and Arabsat 6A missions. There are 3 main parts of the rocket visible on your screen, and that's the first stage, second stage, and the satellite fairing. The bottom 2/3 of the vehicle are what we call the first stage, and this is the portion of the vehicle that is covered with soot from its previous flights. Now, last year, 29 of our 31 launches were flown on flight-proven first stages, or in other words, over 90% of our launches last year were on first stages that had flown before. The first stage's primary role is to accelerate all the way to the edge of space with the help of its 9 Merlin M1D engines. And then there, it will drop off the second stage, which has the payload attached. Now, the first stage will then make its way back to Earth, where we will attempt to recover it back on land today at landing zone 1, and you can see that landing zone on your screen there. Now, if you turn your attention to the section above stage 1 and that black carbon fiber interstage, you'll see Falcon 9's second stage. About 2.5 minutes into flight, the stages will separate, and the second stage will ignite its single Merlin vacuum engine to carry itself and the Cosmos SkyMed satellite to a polar sun synchronous orbit. Now, the satellite is safely enclosed inside of the payload fairing, which is what you're seeing on your screen. That's that large nose cone at the very top of the rocket. Our fairing is about 40 feet tall and with a 17-foot diameter. Now, to put that size into perspective, an average fire truck is about 40 feet long and 12 feet wide, so it would just fill the fairing. As for payload mass, Falcon 9 is capable of carrying about 50,000 pounds to low Earth orbit. Now, a fire truck is a good analogy for this as well because it can weigh about just that when it's filled with water and people. Today, our Cosmos SkyMed payload is about 5,000 pounds, or 10% of Falcon 9's total capacity. The fairing halves we are using today are flight proven, and we'll be attempting to recover them once again when they make their way back to Earth. Now we're just under the T-minus 12-minute mark until liftoff. The Falcon 9 team began their final checks at T-minus 2 hours. And most recently, we completed the ground team pull to proceed with propellant load and launch at T-minus 38 minutes. We begin prop loading at T-minus 35 minutes, and Falcon 9 is a bipropellant vehicle, and that means that we use two propellants, and that's a fuel and an oxidizer. So for Falcon 9, we use a refined form of kerosene, or RP1, or rocket propellant 1, for our fuel. And then to burn the fuel, we need an oxidizer. Falcon 9's oxidizer is super chilled liquid oxygen, or what we call densified LOX. And that is chilled well below its boiling point, which increases its density, and that allows us to load more into the first and second stage LOX tanks. Now, currently, fuel loading is
Hello, hello, hello. We currently have one viewer with us on Twitch. Hello. How you been doing today? Right now, we're just watching the Falcon, SpaceX Falcon 9 launch.
complete on the second stage, 2 seconds right before liftoff. Now, once our Merlin engines ignite, they'll begin throwing the combustion exhaust out of the engine nozzles at the base of the rocket, resulting in a push on the vehicle in the opposite direction. Now, this is a great example of Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Now, again, as for weather, we are keeping an eye on this. We are still currently red on the range and no go for launch at this moment. But we are hopeful that weather conditions will improve over the next few minutes for a liftoff at 6:11 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, as I mentioned earlier, our mission today is for Cosmos SkyMed second generation FM2 for our customer Thales Alenia Space. The constellation is owned by the Italian Space Agency and Ministry of Defense. The dual-purpose network is composed of 4 identical satellites of the first generation, launched in orbit between 2007 and 2010, which will gradually be replaced by the second generation ones, and improving efficiency and capability in key areas such as nation security and planetary preservation. The first satellite of the second generation was launched in 2019, and today will be the second generation satellite to launch. To help us better understand the capabilities of the Cosmos SkyMed constellation, here's an explanation from the Italian Space Agency's president and head of programs.
You guys hear that? We just heard hold over the net. So this launch will be scrubbed. So we will be seeing all of this again in the future. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'll let this kind of play here. But unfortunately, that is it for today. Now I can put this up. I will stick around and answer some of your guys' questions. Like I said, we have actually a lot of good questions that I'm really excited to answer. But unfortunately, the weather was just not okay for today. So the fun thing here, I'll turn this one down so you guys can actually hear in the background them kind of doing the, I'll turn this all the way up or more up so you can hear it, because it is pretty fun to hear them go over some of these conditions and some of the things they do when they defuel the rocket. So I will definitely be streaming again whenever this.
Hello, 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 everybody on our YouTube and Twitch show. Welcome to the stream. Today, I don't know what we're gonna do. I can tell you this, we're gonna have fun. So, before that stream came up, I was working on editing a video. But let's not do that right now. So, I was working on making a refined version of this video right here. And hey, look at this. See that number right there? I like that one. So I think let's just go and raid.
When Subway opened, they changed the fast food game. But sometimes you gotta refresh to be fresh. Welcome to the Eat Fresh Refresh, where there's so much new, some say it can't fit in one ad. I say, we're talking a new All-American Club, deli-style oven roasted turkey, and...
Oh, that's the new steak and cheese.
Oh yeah, I knew that. That's the one with the new seasoning.
And that was the new MVP Parmesan vinaigrette.
Right, which makes a next level foot... Hold up, the Subway logo? Wait, I'm out of time.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Alrighty. So I'll just have a quick break off camera there just to do a couple of things and save you from this for a couple of minutes. It's all good, eh? Righty, let's have a quick look, see how we're doing.